I was talking to you about how child abuse is really like a plague in our society. It's going on all over the world, in families, in all sorts of setups, and it's been kept a secret by the families or by the person often. And that is, with me it was both, but they made me feel guilty because they allowed him to continue in the family as if everything was fine, that he hadn't done anything wrong. So they were giving me the feeling that I was bad. I believed I was bad because other people were not telling me the opposite. I was never told the opposite until I eventually talked about it far later in my life. So unfortunately, there's a trend for this to happen to the victims, that it gets turned the wrong way around and the victims become the ones who are the perpetrators. They think they caused it because everybody is giving them the feeling that they're bad. If I'm keeping a secret, for me, and I'm sure for lots of young people, it must be because others will think I'm bad if I tell them what I want to tell them. So the only way I could cope with it was by taking substances to forget. I just wanted to forget it because it was so traumatic for me. No day was normal. There was always something terrible going on, and I couldn't turn to anyone, no one at all. Especially in those days, there were no places that were even offering help for this. And we really need to focus on the child and what happens in the child's sense of identity as to who they are. And anyway, as time went on as well, I was drinking a lot. I was taking Valium specifically, and I became the black sheep of the family. Although they didn't know why I was doing it, I was the black sheep of the family. And as they watched me ruining my life, which was not only my health with the drinking, it was also relationships never working, marriages falling apart, getting married and divorced 4 times. It was quite obvious in their eyes that I was a bad person, and nobody did anything about the perpetrator. He was actually being protected right until today, even by his wife. And even my mother would not want to do anything because she didn't want my sister to hurt. So everything gets turned upside down. That everybody's worrying about what kind of impression this is going to make on others, or that somebody else will get hurt. And that they're not realizing that the child, as that continues, it becomes a deeper and deeper feeling. If everybody's giving me the idea that I'm bad, then I must be. And I remember even saying things like, if they want bad, I'll give them bad, you know. And because there was this secret anger there as well, where I just wished somebody would ask me, what is the truth? Why are you doing this? This is crazy. But I just continued regardless. Here I would like to really approach people who are caught in addictions, and I am very aware of the fact that many people are caught in addictions because of child abuse, and it's all part of trying to make yourself feel better. You are self-medicating. well, that's certainly what I was doing, or I was trying to prove a point that, okay, if whatever went on when I was a child is not allowed to be talked about, then you saying I'm bad, that's okay, I'll just be bad. And it just isolated me more and more from anybody who could possibly understand why I was doing what I was doing. It seemed that every good thing that came into my life, I had not deserved it. I was not deserving of a happy marriage. I was desperate to have a child. I was desperate to just settle down and be a normal young lady with a peaceful life. But it didn't happen. Even when I finally had a child of my own, when he was 4 years old, I could not stay in that marriage anymore because of the traumas coming up in the relationship. And so I deserted my son. Now you can imagine what an impression that made on everybody who knew me. It was a confirmation that I was bad. And then added to that came this continuous question towards me from everybody who was who believed in religion, God, or whatever. They were saying, "Why won't you forgive?" But I couldn't forgive because I was hurting too much. It just didn't make sense to me to forgive at that point. And he hadn't asked forgiveness, but that really sealed the fact that I was bad, because I wasn't doing what the religious people in my life thought I should have done. They genuinely believed if I just forgave him, then I could stop drinking and be normal and be a good mother. I could be a good mother, I could be a good wife, I could be a good daughter, I could be a good sister, I could be a good friend. If only I would just forgive, for goodness sake. But when I had enough alcohol in me, I would tell them, "You got no chance that I'm going to forgive this person." But that only started when I finally talked about it. The reason why I finally talked about it, that gave me the courage to talk about it, was that I had spent the night with some stranger man, and the phone rang early the next morning, and it was a Sunday. I picked up the phone. In those days it was one of those phones, and the perpetrator was on the line. And I had refused to talk to him anymore, which was also a very bad thing to do, because my sister felt uncomfortable. But I could not believe the question that he asked me. He said, "Last night my daughter was out on the town and she saw you." And I said, "I remember seeing her, yes." And he said, "My daughter was so embarrassed that her aunt was carrying on the way she was, that she was so bad, she was so drunk, she was falling all over the place, she was going after men, she had no control of herself." And he said, "I phoned you because you obviously have gone off the rails, so I would like to come and fetch you to take you to church." And that just hit me right there. I said, "You want to take me to church? If there's anybody who should be at church," well, he was at church, or understand about repentance or whatever, it's you. And from this day onwards, I'm going to tell people what happened. That is how I eventually got the courage to write 3 Steps to Heaven.